He's a father of three. By day, he leads one of Ghana's most prominent companies as Chief Executive Officer of John Fernandes Limited. By night and most weekends, you'll likely find him on a hockey field, coaching, playing, or strategizing for the next big tournament. Philip Fernandes is a man who wears many hats: business executive, sportsman, mentor, and most importantly, a father. In this special Father's Day edition of Sources, we turn our focus to a life lived in motion, grounded by family and driven by purpose. From the boardroom to the hockey pitch, and from fatherhood to national leadership, Philip Fernandes exemplifies balance, commitment, and quiet strength. Today, we get to know more about the man behind the titles. This is Sources. Welcome to Sources. I'm your host, Svetlana Marshall. In honor of Father's Day, we'll be speaking with a father, a national coach, and the president of the Guyana Hockey Board, and also a business executive, Mr. Philip Fernandes. Mr. Fernandes, thank you so much for accommodating me today. And happy Father's Day to you.
Well, thank you, Svetlana, and thank you for having me too.
Mr. Fernandes, what does it mean to be a father, the Chief Executive Officer of John Fernandes Limited, and also the president of the Guyana Hockey Board?
Well, first of all, you make it sound also very prestigious. But, it's a pleasure, everything we do in life, we find that after a while it becomes an effort for our children, So it's fantastic to be a father. It's nice to have young people look up to you and learn from you and that sort of thing. And, in my life as a professional, in work life and in sport, I interact with a lot of young people. And so, the father's role can even be extended beyond my own family. So it's quite pleasurable.
And before we get into your role as a father, you are the Chief Executive Officer, and I would love for you to speak about what it means to be a business executive, a CEO, as a father, and also the president of the Guyana Hockey Board.
Well, sure. A lot of what drives me and a lot of the pleasure I get is giving back where I have benefited. So, I am the CEO of a family business, and that means that whatever I am carrying on has been handed down to me. My grandfather started the business, my uncles and my father then ran it, and then it has rested on my shoulders now. And they have taught me, and they have passed on the responsibility to me, and it's an honor and it's a pleasure. And similarly with hockey, a lot of my family members were in sport. My father was an avid sportsman, and he was also the president of the federation before I was. I didn't follow him immediately. There were people in between, but nevertheless, I learned from him and his teachings and so on. And I benefited a lot. Both in business and in sport, I benefited a lot from being under their guidance and under their control. And I am happy to be able to give other young people the same opportunities that I got and I enjoyed so much when I was young.
And you're a father of three, two girls and a boy.
Correct.
I want to take you down memory lane. What it felt like to become a father for the first time.
Well, it was, I'm not one of those fathers that cried when the child was born and so on. As a matter of fact, while I love my wife, I love my children and so on, my wife always teases me about, especially when we had our second child, that I was there with her in the room and then I couldn't wait to get back because we had a hockey tournament at the same time and I was hustling to get out back to the tournament. So it was certainly a pleasure having, your own child come into the world and so on. But, I think the real value is when they grow and you get to know them as humans and be able to interact with them and hear their views and this kind of thing. Those are really, to me, the special moments.
And what is like to be a father, like a day at home, or, how do you strike a balance?
Well, there are a few days at home because of that balance, But when we do have time at home, I really highly value the relationship I have with my children. And so it is nice to have everyone come in the same room and we just, have a good chat and share times together. And, those are the moments that are most valuable in life to me. Sometimes we do some trivia where I ask them about some things about Guyana or about anything else that they may not have known about. And they're shocked when they discover these things. And, it creates a lot of laughter and a lot of fun. And, I think that, those are probably the best days of life.
What do you have like a moment in fatherhood that you say, this, I would never forget this moment with them? I'm sure there are many memories.
Yes, there are lots of great things. I find that I am most deeply moved when my children achieve something, So when I see them, with outstanding results, either academically or when they represent the country well and they do something substantial, those are the times, It's difficult to hone into one specific moment because there are 3 children and each of them do their own things. But those are the unique moments that I remember the most and will always, cherish.
How old are they?
Well, Madison, my eldest, is now 21. And then there's both 18 and Grant just turned 16, the boy.
Okay, that's nice. Now, what values? You spoke about your interaction with them and teaching them new things. What are some of the values you teach them that other fathers could emulate?
Yes, well, I always I try to teach them. I mean, obviously, as my father said to me, children should really come with a manual, because we all try to be parents, we all try to be good parents, but there are no real instructions, so we figure it out as we go along. So I'm certainly not an authority on the subject, but what I try to teach my children is, first of all, to be honest and frank about whatever it is that your opinion or wherever you stand on a matter. Because in their interactions with their friends and so on, they would sometimes share issues with me, and I would say to them, I said, just be absolutely honest about it, because if you try to conceal something to get a point over, you will always have to protect that area, right? While if you just are honest from the get-go, there are no misleading situations, and you can, this open communication and that. So to me, honesty is the first one. And then also doing what you say. Like I find in general, young people today, I think are, less reliable. And I mean, I'm not saying all are, but I see a lot of cases where they're less reliable, where they commit to something and not deliver on that commitment. So I try to get my kids to, first of all, be honest about whatever it is that they say and do, and then also to deliver when they promise something,
Mm-hmm. As a when you first became a father, did you find it challenging, fatherhood? And how did you overcome some of the challenges that you may have encountered?
Well, yes, it is challenging, but I think it has an awful lot to do with the 2 individuals involved, My wife, I think she was a very good mother from the beginning in terms of really accepting the role of the increased responsibility, your sleep patterns are interfered with, your whole day is disrupted. And if we have one parent not carrying a sufficient portion of the role, then it becomes very, very difficult for the other, So I think luckily for me, I have a partner who was, willing to bear the responsibility of, being up at night and doing all these things and so on, which allowed me to continue getting sufficient rest to go into work the next day, this kind of thing and so on. So yes, I did have to change a lot of things, and I did have to, inconvenience myself and sometimes be a little more tired than I usually would be during those early days. But with a good partner, then it's certainly manageable. I mean, everybody in the world does it, so it's it's not that impossible.
You spoke about your father earlier. What lessons you learned from him that you were able to that help you along the way in overcoming some of the challenges, but also being a good father?
Yes, well, yes, he has always been really somebody that I admired, and still do. I have 3 brothers and no sisters, so we grew up in this household of 4 boys. My father's a sportsman, And so we started playing sport from the time we could walk. And he was a big part of that. He coached us and he got us to the training grounds and we did all that. And so he imparted that part of life to me with sport and so on, which I'm still very involved in. And that teaches you so much about life itself, you know. Like in my current role here at work, you know, it is important to understand the different personalities and the different people that we have to stitch together as a team. How do we motivate a team of different types of people when each of them, requires a different stimulus to get them, you know, to be motivated. And I think that playing sport and being in leadership positions in sport has helped me a lot with that, you know, and that came down from his teaching coming down the line. He also, you know, had very strong messages which were imparted by his father to him, I think, and then him on to us of integrity, you know. He gave us lessons from young about, you know, if you make a promise, even if a better opportunity comes along elsewhere, you have to stick to the promise and not break it because you see something better for yourself. That is a very strong message he has instilled in us. And we keep it in our minds throughout all our decision making at the workplace, and everything goes down to that we must do the right thing. And if we promise something, that is where we continue to go, even if we see better, you know.
You've spoken about how your father influenced you and the man you are today. Have your children taken an interest in either hockey or the business, John Fernandes Limited?
Yes. Funny enough, they have. Two of my three children play hockey. Yes, my eldest daughter has represented Guyana, and my son also plays, and he's also quite good. I didn't force them into hockey, but I certainly encouraged it and exposed them with the hope. My other daughter, she doesn't play hockey. She tried it a bit. She prefers other things. But you know, they're all active, and that's what I want, you know. And then where the business is concerned, my second daughter, who doesn't play sport, she's actually, right now she's interning with us, and she is very committed. She asks me a lot of deep thinking questions that I can see that she is learning very quickly and advancing herself. So she definitely has a business mind, and so do the other two. Madison's at university at the moment, so she's getting on, and Grant's just finishing high school. And yes, I think that the same kind of qualities are coming out in them, and I'm seeing them becoming, hopefully, you know, little me's and little bits of my wife in there, and they'll be better than we would be collectively, hopefully.
Good to hear. Now, what lessons from sport and the business you've embedded in them, you've taught them about that, you know, when they become older and they enter the workforce? You said your second daughter's intern here. What are some of the key lessons you tell them about, whether it's hockey or football or business? What are the key takeaways?
Yes, well, you know, a lot of it is when you play sport, especially team sport, it is difficult for everyone to always get along, you know, and therefore we have to learn and understand how to fit in, you know. Everyone is coming from a different background, a different day, a different week, and so we have different perspectives, and then we come together and expect to all perform as one unit. That in itself, you know, is a big learning opportunity, and I try to teach them that, where, you know, in the workplace or on a team, you know, we have to understand that other people will have different opinions and approaches to us. And instead of just rejecting theirs as being an incorrect position, because ours is different, that they must try to understand and maybe still disagree, but it's okay to disagree, but still find a way to work together, you know? And in the business place, that also translates, you know, very strongly in that, you know, in the business you have all sorts of people coming in with all different skill sets, and that is needed for the business to be successful. So I try to, you know, to use that learning from sport and business and so on that I got and pass it on to them so they'd be prepared for that, you know.
Okay. As a father, you spoke about, you know, having to wake up early, get to work, get back home, assist with the children. How important it is for fathers to, you know, take some time for themselves to take care of their mental health and to just have a light moment.
Yes, you know, even though I keep myself quite busy, during most of the day, because you get up, you come into work, and so on. I often, right through lunch and everything is a full work day, and then from work I get home, and there's not much time before when I head out to the field to train, the young players and so on. And so my day starts, before 8 o'clock in the morning and finishes after 8 o'clock at night, really, and when I get back home. And then, of course, there's got to be some family time and so on. But, in between that, especially in the evenings, and I'm a late night person, I still find time to do a little bit of reading and a little bit of stuff at that time. So it's not a long period of time, but, it is my time and I quite enjoy doing that. Maybe my wife suffers a bit more than everyone else, because then her time is not that, with her time with me is short. But nevertheless, it's important to have a little bit of time to do your own thing, as you say. Luckily, I enjoy the other things that I do, and therefore, it's I don't need a whole lot of alone time.
Okay, you spoke about the other things, and earlier you said that you're a father of three, but you're a father to many, and I say that because you are a national coach. You coach the female hockey team as well as the male team, and you're the president of the board. Tell me about, walk me through the process of coaching and mentoring the teams, the various teams.
Yeah, that's a great pleasure for me. I have done it. I've even when I was a junior, I started coaching. When I was a junior player, so from way back then. And I think, to be honest, if I were to identify what might have been my true calling in life, it would have been to teach something. I think I probably was meant to be a teacher of some sort. And so, but of course, life's opportunities gave me different paths, which I took. But the coaching gives me that outlet. It allows me to teach and impart knowledge to young people, which I really enjoy. Now that my children are playing also, it's even extra special, because I get to spend time with them as well as be on the field doing this teaching. The amount of kids that call me uncle and so on, because I'm coaching all these young people, and they feel close enough to me, and they call me like we're relatives, and that in itself has a special charm to it, and so I think that it is something that I know that I'm in a position as a result, of coaching these national teams, especially the junior national team, which I'm working right now with the girls. Being in that position, I can often influence young people in a positive way beyond just hockey, because it's not really just about the sport, It's about doing the right thing, it's about life and that sort of thing. And I am very careful to make sure that what they see of me and what I impart to them can, in fact, benefit them positively in some way. And through that, I get to be a father of many.
Yes, and you're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
You're also coaching them for an upcoming tournament. Tell me a little about that tournament.
Sure. So recently, there was an introduction of a Junior Pan American Games, which is fantastic. A games means that it's multi-sport. So it's going to be athletics, it's going to be swimming, cycling, table tennis, football, everything, and there's going to be hockey. Pan Am level means it's from Canada right down through Central South America down to Argentina. So all of those nations are going to be there, which is a pretty big deal. It's a high level of competition. And this is the first time Guyana is going to be sending a hockey team to these games, because the games are relatively new. Our girls had to go to a qualifier in Barbados in March, and we got the bronze medal. And
Congrats.
thank you. And as a result of that, they qualified for these games. So now they're going to these games. It's going to be tougher. It's going to be higher level of competition, because now there's going to be Argentina, USA, Canada, Chile, these big nations. Prior to, even in the previous qualifier, it was Barbados and Trinidad and so on were in there. And not that there are any less worthy opponents, but these big nations obviously have more resources and so on. So I think that the games will be a great opportunity for the young people. They will see and experience something they have never, been anything close to that in their life. And I know because I had the opportunity as a young person to go to the Senior Pan American Games, and which was probably it's one of the outstanding moments in my life. And I think that this is a great opportunity, and it's nice to see young people from somewhere like Guyana, right, which is typically not a big, well-known country globally, so, at least before the oil.
Before oil.
And somewhere like Guyana, young people who some of them may not even have traveled before, getting to go to these places, going to somewhere like Paraguay and experiencing the games. It is going to be a remarkable time for them.
When will it be held?
It's going to be in August. It's the 9th to the 19th of August.
And so the preparation is rigorous now. You're working with them from 6:30, I'm told.
Yes,
or it's
yes.
thereabout.
Yes, 6 o'clock in the evening. We do 4 nights a week, and then we play matches on Sundays.
Okay.
So 5 days a week we're doing training.
And where persons could come down to watch the matches. Are they open to the public?
Yes. We train at GCC during the week, and then on Sunday mornings we utilize the Providence Stadium.
Okay, so if you want to watch the girls in action, do visit the Providence Stadium on Sundays.
Sure.
Yes. And so what advice you would give to fathers looking at this program? Probably they're entrepreneurs, or they're working with companies, they're playing sport. They need to strike a balance between all three or two of them. What advice you'd offer to the fathers looking on, and how they could be a better businessman, a better sport person, and also, importantly, a better father?
Yeah, sure. What I think is that, we live in a remarkable time. We live in the age of information. And so there is nothing that we would like to learn that we cannot learn. We cannot find information to learn, When I was much younger, I remember, at university going to the library and having to, look through these things they call the microfiche with slides where we had to try to find research information on any topic. Now, we literally could sit in our homes with a gadget in our hands and find information on anything that we want to know. So I would say to young fathers these days and so on, is that identify what it is that you think that would benefit you and your purpose, whether it be your family, your work, your sport, what it is that are the most significant things that could advance you and benefit you, and then spend some time, maybe a little bit time every day or certainly every week, spend some time using the resources available to us to learn and advance yourself in that, Even if we're at work, when we go to the training ground with sports, we practice the same movements and actions over and over so we become better. But we come to work, many people, and we don't practice improving ourselves for work. But there are resources available, and we should be able to constantly be using those to improve ourselves, to improve our skills. There's nothing we can't learn, which means there's no level we can't reach if we really wanted to, and we put the time into.
Mr. Fernandes, it's Father's Day, and so I won't want to rob you of the opportunity to give your final remarks, but also to send out greetings to fathers that have impacted your life.
Yes, well, thank you. There have been a lot of fathers impact in my life. I feel somewhat awkward not speaking about the mothers because they've also been so fantastic. But I guess because it's Father's Day, we'll stick to the fathers. But yes, there have been a lot of fathers that impacted my life. My own father has been a fantastic role model and teacher for me and for my brothers. And so I would start with him. I wouldn't necessarily want to name people because then I might forget some, but there have been some other significant ones, uncles of mine who have taken the time to work with me as a kid with a ball, playing football or something, and these kinds of things. And so I think that fathers have such an important role to make, because young people are looking at us. And whether we know it or not, they're looking and learning from everything that we do, And so the fathers that I learned from, I really appreciate you, and I really, would like to wish you all Happy Father's Day.
Great. And so, of course, I also want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about John Fernandes. I know it's a company that is known to almost all Guyanese. What has John Fernandes been up to in recent days as we, wind down?
Yeah, sure. John Fernandes started as a transportation company. So everybody knows that we're in shipping, so cargo coming in, cargo going out. We're still a major player in that business, and that is our core business. Because livestock was a hobby of my grandfather's, we had branched into Bounty Farm, which had, cows and sheep and so on, and now it's mostly chicken. And so Bounty Farm is also in a different industry there. And, over the years, we have diversified. We have a lot of family members who have come back into the business. So we have about close to 25 family members working in the business. And so we have diversified, and we have a lot of very good people outside of the family, but we also have sprinklings of family members around, which also keeps us close-knit and keeps, the same kind of culture permeating through all of them. In recent times, with the discovery of oil here, we've diversified a little bit into that industry, especially because we were already in the transportation, and the oil services need certain transportation-related, services to be provided to them, and so we have diversified into those. So we have grown from a group of 8 companies. Maybe 20 years ago into 23 companies today. And some of them are still relatively small but growing, and we look forward to trying to maybe make a bigger positive impact locally. We enjoy the fact we're in business to be profitable, everybody is, but we also enjoy the benefit to society that John Fernandes can provide. It's nice to be in a position where when you see the needs around, that you're in a position to help, you're in a position to employ people, you're in a position to support their families and these kinds of things. And we would like to be able to continue doing that for a very long time.
And I trust that you have a lot of fathers working with the company.
We certainly do.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for speaking with me. And before I do, I'll take the risk and send out some greetings. I know I probably missed some names, but you'll forgive me in advance. I would like to send out greetings to my father. Like your father, my father would have influenced me significantly. I grew up in a logging community, and my father was in the transportation sector. And so I got to accompany him along the Mabura Trail many, many days as a child. And so I totally enjoyed my childhood. So I would like to send out greetings to my father, Wainwright Marshall, also my brothers, Junior, Cleon, Laurent, and Wayne. And also to my husband, Jude, father to my 3 beautiful children. And of course, the executive producer of Sources and the owner of New Source Guyana, Gordon Mosley. I often tell him that, he got to be the best godfather there is in Guyana, because he's always talking about his godchildren and going above and beyond when it comes to his godchildren. So I would also like to send out greetings to the technical team, Chris and Andre. Happy Father's Day to you. And I have my mentor and friend, Nigel Williams, my Uncle Godfrey and Prince, as well as my very good friend, Yuval Clark. And that's the rough Happy Father's Day. I trust that you have and continue to do all the great things you're doing with the hockey teams here in Guyana, with the business. I wish the company well, and to continue to be that awesome father that you are. And Happy Father's Day to you again. So thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Sources. I've been your host, Svetlana Marshall.